I would like to share with you my most recent obsession, and I have delved into the land of the Marseille. I know it's intimidating for people who are used to the Rider-Waite system because of those pip cards that don't have the fully illustrated scenery on them. It just has the number and the suit. But I've been able to get more confidence in my use of the cards through the help of Yoav Ben-dov. And Yoav created a wonderful Marseille deck that he calls the CBD, Tarot de Marseille. CBD stands for the Conver. It's based on the original Conver Marseille. He used the same colors that it used. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the Conver deck is kind of the basis for everything in this deck. And BD is for Ben-dov, his name. Now the original Conver deck had many different color patterns based on what year it was printed in. So they used the same woodblock carvings to create the black and white lines. But over the years, what ended up happening is they would switch some of the colors. So he based this on the original Conver deck. He says that this deck took 3.5 years and 3 pairs of hands to do. The card stock that he used is like silk. There's a lot of love in this deck. Yoav actually traveled to Belgium to oversee the printing of the deck, checking out the cardstock, making sure that everything was done just right. And he ended up choosing the best cardstock that they had. So that's what you've got here, and it is truly like silk, and it shuffles like a dream. Another fabulous thing about this deck is that while many decks are copyrighted, he licensed this under a Creative Commons license, so it's distributed in such a way that you can share the images without worrying about copyright infringement. How often does that happen? He also has all these images on his website, which you can download and use for your blogs, use for anything you're doing as long as it's non-commercial. And it's a really generous thing of him to have done this. I want to personally thank him because I have been enjoying the images. The deck itself can be purchased through his website as well, and I think you'll really enjoy this. If you're worried about how to read the Marseille, I know it takes a little while to get used to, he has a book out called Tarot, the Open Reading, which is one of the best tarot books I've read in many, many years. I got to feeling that many tarot books were just redundant, and I found that this particular one stoked my fire again, and I'm having so much fun exploring the meanings of these cards, some of the history of the cards, the process that he went through in order to make these cards, and even some of the mistakes in the cards. It's interesting to hear about what happened in history. For example, he mentions in some of the cards what he tried to do is to keep the integrity close to what the original version was. If there were any little mistakes in the cards, he wanted to keep them. And an example is here in the Magician card, or the Bachelor. This right here is land that was left uncolored. He decided to keep that. If you notice, this little piece right here should have been colored in green. It's his leg. That was not colored in the original deck, and he decided to keep it. Another thing he did with colors is that over time, all these precise lines got lost. They were kind of covered by the color over the years, and with wear of the, posing of the wood blocks, a lot of this fine detail was lost. So if you look at the old Conver decks, you'll see that they almost look smudged over these lines. So they brought a lot of them back. What he did do, the only really big change he made, is that the expressions, he lightened them up a little bit to make them less somber, so they are a little bit more engaging with each other and not quite so serious. They've got more of a pleasant type personality. He wanted to keep kind of the perspective that was off, the art perspective, and some of the kind of oddities in terms of the way the art was done. He wanted to keep those, to keep it authentic. He didn't want to straighten out the faces and make it all anatomically correct. But the size of these cards is about 2.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches. They've got a plain white border around the edge. The interesting thing is the border on each card is not a template. Each one was drawn individually, so there are little variations. These are also not vector lines done by a computer. This was done with pen and ink on a paper, and as was the font, so you're not getting the same exact P each time you're doing it. It's a hand-drawn one. Each card is unique in that way, and so there will be little minor variations in the frames, he says, but that's to keep it true to the original way that the deck was made. You've got a really fine design, a nice classic look. We've got a matte coating The backs are reversible. They've got this really nice classic looking design. Looks like something you'd actually see on the old deck. Although these are not worn looking, they're in perfectly crisp white cards, like they probably were when they were first made. The cards do shuffle beautifully. They are a little on the long side, so if you do happen to have small hands, and you might be hard time getting your hand around it, I can do it. I don't have any problem doing it. It's kind of a standard size card. Very nicely. Very nice shuffle. The box that it comes in is this cardboard box, and the cardboard box can wear over time, so I'm sure it's not meant to be kind of a permanent place for it. So you want to probably protect your deck in something a little more secure. I found a really nice pouch for it. That's my sacred spot for it. It comes with a little white book, so even if you don't have his book, The Open Reading, this will kind of get you on your feet. The text in this book is also under a Creative Commons license, so the text in this can be distributed or shared as well. He does talk about the deck structure, about how to read the cards, and he talks about how to read the minors, some ways to get started in reading them, which he also mentions in his book, The Open Reading. He talks a little bit about the aces, the court cards, and the minors. And then the major suits, or the real stars of the show for this deck, he goes on into saying what each of the cards means. The way he reads the cards is he'll put 3 cards together. And this is what he calls an open reading. So you're not looking at the meaning of the star, the meaning of the magician, or the high priestess in this. What you're really doing is looking at the actions and the story that's happening here, where the horizons might connect, who's looking at who. So you see that this person is really watching this woman. She's looking away. She may not notice him right now. She's busy doing other things. She looks pleasant. He looks like he's very interested in her and pleased. He's even got his wand down here pointing. And there's also someone looking at him. So there is a third person in this, and we may want to ask, is this a mother? Is this another person he's in a relationship with? Is this someone at work? Who's watching? And that's the kind of thing he does, and he starts talking about the different aspects in the cards that kind of flow into each other. This is a lot of fun to do, and then he talks about how you can add the pips in this as well. I highly recommend his book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it, still working my way through, and I will get a book review on that when that's complete. The titles are all written in the original French word. So each of the major arcana have the title below written in French. They have Roman numerals at the top indicating the number. Here's an interesting little trivia tidbit I found, is that usually when you see number 9, it is written with a 1 and X, and here they have it as the V1111. And the same thing is of the sun. They end up having the XV1111, which I had not seen before. That's new to me. So each of the suits, you've got the bendy rods or wands, you've got the straight swords, you've got the cups, and you've got the money, the coins. Here's the interesting thing. Each of these has a number indicating, so this is the 5 of wands. This is the 8 of swords. This is the 4 of cups instead of the 1V. Isn't that interesting? You've got the four ones there instead of the 1V, Roman numeral. But none of the pentacle cards, none of the coins have any numbers on them. But they're pretty easy to count, just to let you know. La Force, which is strength, is number 11. Justice is number 8. Justice. When you're looking at the French for the court cards, you've got all the pages here as the valet. You've got the knights as the cavalier. And you've got the queens as the reine. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And kings are roi. And one of my favorite things about the deck is all the little irregularities that were in the original Marseille are kept. Just to show you the quality difference in the images between this and another deck. This is another modern reproduction of a Marseille. If you look at, this is from the Tarot de Marseille. That was from Lo Scarabeo, which is the one I've been using till now, and I really liked it. This is the Lo Scarabeo. This is Yoav's. You'll notice that the faces have that more pleasant look to them that he changed. The colors are a little different, but you'll also notice that many of the lines are crisper and clearer. If you look at just the crispness of the face and of the lines in the hat, how everything is just more measured. This is where we've got the standard font that's done by a computer, and then he's got his font that's done by hand. Okay, some of the colors are different. Let's look at one more. So if we look at Temperance, Yoav's is on the left and the other is on the right, and you can kind of see it's the smoothness of the lines in the water. It's a much better flow. The expression on her face is much prettier, much more pleasant. You get the same overall composition of the card, so that's respected. But in all, I think that the pleasure I get in using his card kind of outdid what the old deck did for me, and I'm really feeling that I'm bonding with this deck very heartily, whereas I had a little bit of a hard time really getting close to the other deck. His signature Two of Coins card is beautiful. That's kind of the big one in the Marseille, and that's kind of his signature stamp. Very nicely done. So if you find yourself getting a little bored with the same old tarot, if you want something new, if you really want to explore, if you really want to get into the stories, this deck is a lot of fun to use. I'm learning so much. I'm learning new techniques, and the techniques that I've learned from his book are things that I can carry over into my other decks and start using as well. I hope that this deck will inspire you as much as it has inspired me. I've had such a wonderful time, many nights just sitting and working my way through those cards. Thank you, Yoav, for a remarkable deck. Thank you for making it available to everybody through the common license. I'm very proud of the work that I see here for you. You should be very proud. This is, I think, one of the major decks of this year. Thank you.